Ladies and gentlemen, the first returning guest, rapologist, magician, pool cue, snooker legend, the man himself, the Grand Fromage, the Grand Fromage. Russ Amber, how are you?
I like that, the Grand Fromage. I like the rapologist, though.
Yeah, you put that on a t-shirt.
That's not bad at all.
I am willing to just give that to you as a gift, as a thank you for your time.
Thank you, brother. Thank you.
How's life?
Well, I'm in the bubble, so I mean, it does have its good points and its bad points. I mean,
so no pool, no going out. I suppose we'll have to just talk about boxing then.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, that's the one. A friend of mine in New York, where we stay at the Stewart Hotel. He's the guy. He's the manager there, and we've become really good friends. And he asked me the very same question. And he says, it must be boring during the day. I said, well, actually, during the day, it's not boring at all, because there's a lot of activity. We go down to the fights, and I mean, to go to the cafeteria area, the Top Rank office. There's always people you see around. I said, where it's really boring is at night. Like, basically, once the cafeteria closes at 8 o'clock, everyone kind of just disappears into their room. And normally that would be my cue to be out to the snooker club or the pool hall. And it's not
incredibly cruel and confusing is that you're in a city known only for its nightlife, and you're not allowed to experience any of the nightlife.
Correct. Actually, what's even crazier, I'll tell you, let's go one crazier. Now, I know it's not the Vegas that we expected. You know, it's not what we usually get, especially on fight week. I mean, this parking lot, as a view from my window here, should be absolutely chock-a-block, right? It should be completely filled up. It's relatively empty, but there's the parking lot inside is full. There's people in the casinos. Like, I saw all this before coming into the bubble, and and I'm thinking, wait a minute, there's no shows. There's no entertainment. There's no fights. You can't go anywhere. The only thing that's open is the casino. And in these economic times, there's people here blowing the house payments, at the blackjack table. So I find that a little bit crazy.
You see it as that because you're a sensible person, but they see it as getting
winning the next house.
Getting a new floor added to the house. If I just put
just one more grand,
one more. I mean, that's what Vegas is built on. Some of the saddest and happiest scenes I've ever seen was in Vegas. I like getting in the lift / elevator to the North American people. Like 8 in the morning, you've gone to the gym, and there's someone that's been up legitimately all night, and they're either just destitute and depressed and looking at themselves in the mirror, ashamed, or they are they've had a little bit of the old extracurricular, and they're trying to pitch a business idea to you because they've got the money to back it now, and you're like, we're not gonna launch that app guy I've just met, but I'm all about it. How's Champ? How's the Champ looking? Because I watched the press conference today. Number one, I like the angle that ESPN had, because they had him looking like a Soviet propaganda poster, just very regally placed. It was good, and he seems very intense.
That had absolutely nothing to do with ESPN. That was that's Loma. I mean, it's Loma. That's the way he sits. It's the way he stands when he's at weigh-ins and they do face-offs. It's always the same thing. There's no doubt about it. When you're around the guy, you feel that certain assuredness, that confidence, that self-belief, not just, in terms of being cocky about your boxing ability, but the class in which you conduct yourself as a man.
Yeah.
And the upbringing and the education that he has, and I think in maybe Western culture, we often don't think that the education aligns with growing up, in a poverty or in an underprivileged situation or in a bad way. We in Western culture, we seem to differentiate the two. If you're well off, affluent, or you hadn't had to struggle as a child, we associate that with education. if
Yeah.
you weren't, you know, then you didn't have that education. So I think Loma, you know, had both. I think he grew up in a tough time in an Eastern European country, you know, under tough economic times and whatnot, and still garnished an education and was still well raised and well respectful of people. And I think that shows in him as a person. So, you know, beneath the class, the dignity, the intelligence, you know, lies a man who understands, you know, what it is to grow up like that. You know, that doesn't only happen in Western society or in the United States.
I mean, this is the first time I've seen personally in the build up where, I mean, he doesn't seem angry, but he seems to be looking at Lopez very, very clearly, as in, like, you know, he's been talking a lot, Lopez, and he's been talking in a very strange way. We said on an episode last week that, you know, he referred to Loma as conniving and something else, and it's like, well, hasn't this man given up a chunk of his own purse to make this fight happen? That's not conniving. Like, this is someone that's trying to get the fight going. You know, it's
that's 100% true. And I think yesterday showed something considerably different into what has been the narrative of Lopez throughout the buildup of this fight to yesterday, you know, not doing that, you know, now, you know, like suddenly he changed, like he's done a complete 180, came across very good yesterday on TV, you know, but it wasn't the narrative that he had been promoting leading up to the fight or in the blood, sweat, and tears thing that they did, you know. So why, I don't know. But I think when you're in front of the person, meaning Loma, I think he commands a certain respect.
Yeah, and, I was going to say
and
that.
it's almost go time. Like there's only so long you can talk, and then it's time to.
But also, he's 23. You know, like again, I said the other day, like I was barely even a fully formed person at 23.
I'm still not now.
Yeah. I'm struggling with it now. But then, like, you have a consummate master in front of you, and you're a very talented prospect, young world champion. This is your first defense, and you're fighting Loma in your first world title defense. And it's for the first time that ever all of the belts have been on the line in the lightweight division. Like, I mean, respect to him for holding it together, but the pressure must be immense. And then you've got to look at the Ukrainian assassin looking at you, just dead-eyed. Oh.
Yeah, you know, that's a good point. But then again, if you look back through boxing history, you know, Ali had just turned 22, I believe, when he fought Sonny Liston and was a massive underdog. Although I've never agreed with that being that big of an underdog, but he was. You know, he was a massive underdog. You know, Tyson came along and did it even younger. Patterson was even younger before that. So, you know, 23, like by some standards, doesn't seem to be that young anymore. You know, Benitez was champion of the world at 17. So I'm not sure that age factor makes that much of a difference. Now, is it correct? Are you correct in saying that Lopez will not be at 23? You know, he'll be better at 27 and he'll be better at 28 than he is at 23. Of course he will be, you know, because that's maturity, right? That's the human body, you know, taking flight and then getting bigger and stronger for sure. And he'll grow up in weight and whatnot. But I don't think that being 23 really is a negative thing for him. Yeah, he's not as mature as he will be. None of us were, but you know, like I said, boxing is full of history and fighters who have won fights and big fights at a younger age than 23. So he's world champion. I think if anything, what we should look at is that, you know, you're world champion, your first defense, and you've only had 15 fights. You know, that's probably a little bit more crazy. You know, like I could see it with Loma, but you know, Lopez and this new age of fighters now, this development period that, you know, was generally the pattern for most fighters. And I mean, you can even go back as early or as late, if you will, as Roy Jones, that there was a certain development time in the pro ranks before you fought these major fights. And now, I guess because in many cases, in many divisions, the talent pool is really, really slim, that you can kind of just fast track it right to the top. It doesn't mean you're not good. It just means that there's not a lot of obstacles in your way, and you can kind of get fast tracked to a world title shot rather easily nowadays.
You don't have to go the haggler route.
Oh.
Yeah, exactly. Without having to go the haggler route. Exactly.
Cheers, Mr. Amber. Look at that. Look, PG tips, professional.
We were saying on the previous episode, this fight will make him mature alone. Like being against the best to do it. In his next fight, he'll already be a better boxer just from being exposed to what he's about to see on the weekend.
You're referring to Lopez.
Lopez,
You'd have to think so. I mean, everybody reacts differently to a defeat. Should he suffer one? It depends what kind of a defeat. There are so many. I mean, there are, again, in boxing history, there are so many examples of fighters who didn't get the W officially on paper, but their performance was so great that their stock value skyrocketed after the fight. Then there have been others who have suffered such bad defeats, they were never the same after that, So you just don't know how someone is going to react until they cross that road. And I think that's, a perfect example to speak about in the future if we'd ever discuss this, the Fury-Wilder rematch, like Wilder's ego was as big as the great outdoors, but, was it made of crystal? And
we said this because that wasn't just a defeat. That was a beating. Like if you get outboxed, that's one thing. He got outboxed, outfought, and just manhandled. Like,
and when that's your thing as well, when you've got that air of invincibility almost, you think power is your thing, and then you get knocked out. It's tough, to come back.
Beat up bad.
That's what you find out about how people come back from adversity. How you come back from knockouts. Povetkin versus Dillian.
Did you have a wry smile when that happened? Did you have a little? Did you just sit there and just go, karma?
Karma still on
karma,
and still. But it's how do you come back from that? That's a bad one punch knockout. That has to have some damage. That has to do some damage. So it's everyone comes back from things differently. If you chance to watch the first Lewis versus Schmeling fight, go back and watch this. And when he finally, after taking a vicious beating from the fourth round on, after he got dropped, when he finally goes down for the count in the 12th round, I don't know if you guys have ever noticed this or not, and a lot of people have not. When he is laying on his stomach, he looks to his corner, his head turns to the side, and he goes, and then lays his head down in his gloves and stays on the floor.
To be fair, that for me was when Morales' second time against Pacquiao, when he got dropped and before he didn't get up, he was sitting on his butt with kind of his hands around his knees, and he just looked at his dad or his corner. I don't think his dad was in the corner for that one, and he just went no. And that that was heartbreaking. Like I saw that and I was just like, oh man, that's crazy.
But then when but then Lewis comes back from it to go on to become arguably the greatest heavyweight of all time. So, all depends how you come back from things. And
can I ask, Russ? Yeah. I was just going to ask, I remember our homework from our last chat. I'm not sure if you remember, you said some fights that have transcended boxing and kind of gone into society, as it will.
I mean, that was one of the ones I had. KSI, no?
Of course, man. There's no bigger.
Just checking.
But would you, because I had Schmeling and Lewis on the list, would you agree just from
100%? It would be more the second fight.
Yes,
the second
absolutely.
Fight, the one that transcended
all the propaganda and everything.
Yeah.
And,
with what was going on, you see, there's a lot of fights that have been great, perhaps in their own country, whether it's been in America or in the UK or whatever. But this fight really had a global dimension to it. There's I can't think of any fight in boxing that had a more global impact than the second Lewis Schmeling fight. And when people talk about being under pressure, you have no idea
Yeah.
the pressure that Lewis would have had to have been under going into the rematch against the only guy that had beaten him, the guy who had beaten him up and knocked him out badly. The world is on the brink of war. Hitler is reigning terror in Europe. Schmeling,
and using as an example of white power and everything like that, you've got to go
exactly. Schmeling being used as a Nazi leader, you know, even though he was not. You know, like but the pressure at that point that was on Lewis, you know, it was almost like the World War was being fought in that ring. You know, had Schmeling won, you can imagine what that would have done. To the rest of the world. So it would have changed history perhaps. So, you know, I don't think people can realize that. And then, you know, Ali and I would say Ali and Fraser, the first fight.
Yep.
You know, guys, I mean, it's incredible to think that, you know, what Ali had been through, how they had taken away his prime of his career, everything that he had done, the stance he had taken and maintained. Like he's one that never changed his narrative. Okay. He had his
go in front of the firing squad.
Yeah.
To be fair, that one's actually on the wall, top right hand corner right there.
Yes.
So it's, you know, I think that, you know, what the pressure he was under and going in there and exposing himself in the garden, you know, against somebody like Fraser and coming back from that, you know, because that too was in an era of a divided time in America as well. You know, like Ali was violently hated by you know, a certain segment of society. They wanted him beaten. You know, their stance on the war. You know, he should have gone. Blah 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 blah. And then there were the others, the younger generation, who stood by Ali because he took their voice and spoke out against the war in Vietnam. You know, so there was a lot on the line during that time. And I don't think people quite understand today the turmoil that existed in those times and what those fights meant to sports fans and beyond.
Yeah.
We did a history special on Jack Johnson. And I'd say there's probably two that as well too. I would have asked whether you'd add them to the list, like the Burns fight and the Jeffries fight, because
the Jeffries fight for sure, right?
For sure. But also Burns was the first time an African-American could fight for the title, right?
Yeah.
So like that is history in itself. Like when he said, I'm going to do this, it wasn't even an option at that time. He had to not just beat the guys, but beat the system to get the opportunity to beat the guys. And then Jeffries, obviously, like that split, there were race riots after that. So that's why I thought those would probably go on the list as well.
Well, that, you know, yes, but I don't believe that they had the global implication.
True.
I think it was very America centric, because when Johnson fought Tommy Burns, who was Canadian, by the way, and they fought
in Australia.
In Australia, right?
With the promoter as the ref, wasn't he? Sure.
I mean, the fact that he was the first to fight for it was something, but it wasn't like it. I don't think there was a controversy surrounding the fight, you know, other than he beat up Tommy Burns quite badly, you know, and Tommy was a small guy compared to Jack Johnson. But when Jack London came out and put the cry out for the Great White Hope, that was the America that we're kind of living a little bit today, if you will, you know, with you know, stand back and stand by, or whatever it was, you know, that Trump said in the debate. And I think that that's given air to a rise in racism here, and what we're seeing, especially in the North American continent, or primarily in the U.S. and everything that's gone on. I think that was more probably America centric than it was world centric. Because I can't speak for, because I'm not quite sure, but I just don't know what the implication of black and white was in sport. Outside of America at that time. So I could be wrong, but I think it was a lot, you know, based on what was going on in America.
Very much so. When did you, because you've been in Vegas for what, 2 weeks now, in and out of a bubble?
It'll be 2 weeks. Not a full 2 weeks. It was a week. It was a week yesterday. So I would have done, by the time this is over, I'm going to hit 13 days. So
God. Are you going to be in UK for USEC?
That's the plan right now. So ticket is booked, and I actually, you know, I've been in touch with Karen Mazzone at Matchroom, trying to organize how get over there because
Yeah.
I can't go home after
Oh,
Vegas.
No, you can't.
so you're going bubble to bubble.
Yeah. So I've got to stay in. I have to stay in Vegas a couple of days, and then have to arrive on a specific day in the UK to go right into the bubble for Usyk. So yeah.
Wow. We're gonna have a go because thanks to having epic guests like yourself as the number one, our podcast now makes a staggering £18 a month on Patreon, which means it gives us the ability to actually do a fight companion as work, so we can mix households. So we're going to do that for the Usyk fight. So we're really looking forward to it. Yeah.
And with that kind of revenue, that condominium in Vegas or Florida,
that's it, round the corner.
Yeah,
it's around the corner.
Yeah. That timeshare on a drawer in a chest of drawers in a timeshare. Me and Streets are going to share that. We're going to put one sock each side, and we're there. Really looking forward to it.
Yeah, that's good. That's good. You guys are there. That's good.
Making it rain, son.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it's all about. Or I mean, look, these religious artifacts don't pay for themselves.
No.
So, how is the big man? I mean, training camp. What have you seen him? Is he looking like laser sharp comparatively to other camps you've worked with him with? Loma, not Usyk.
I was going to say which big man. I think if I was to say anything, this one appears to be the more serious.
Nice.
This is like now, okay, you've said something.
Yeah,
I'm not playing now. This is a little less play that I've seen usual. I guess also because of the situation we're in, right? We're not around people. There isn't his family here with him. There isn't a support crew. It's just, well, I mean, it's the same for both camps, but the vibe is a little bit different. But I noticed him very, very serious and supremely confident, as to in his abilities and whatnot. So yeah, I like what I've seen.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke on Sunday, Ian and I. We both sort of think 9-10. I think it's going to be a classic Loma boiling that he just won't be able. I don't.
Nomaschenko.
Yeah, I personally think it's another Nomaschenko. I don't think that I just think that there's levels to it, and I think that there's so many more levels that Loma has that we haven't seen. I can't see how Lopez can win other than a shot that you don't see, but then he sees everything.
And then that's boxing, right? That could happen at any given time to anybody. But that I said from the outset, I think that's the only hope really Lopez can have, because it's very difficult for me to imagine him putting out a work rate that would be superior to Loma and winning 7 out of 12 rounds to get a decision. So beating Loma 7 out of 12 rounds. I find that really, I mean,
it's tough.
If he does that,
respect. Yeah.
He got more than respect.
Yeah. You're lucky to hit him 7 times in the fight, let alone try to win 7 rounds.
He's I'm not really concerned about the size issue either. The size is not I don't believe the fight is going to be a question about size. The same way that I tried to defend, if you will, Loma's win over Rigondeaux, where they said, oh, he was bigger than Rigondeaux. But he didn't beat him with size. He didn't beat him with strength. He didn't impose his size upon him. He beat him with skill, like he toyed with him like a cat toys with a mouse. And it wasn't about size, so I don't think this is going to be about size either. The size may be that Lopez will be able to withstand perhaps for a longer period of time the absorbing of punishment, if you will, or punches because of his size. Might be able to take that a little more, but I don't think his size becomes a factor in the fight.
I mean, the thing is, like Linares and Campbell, they're both bigger than Lopez, right? They're both taller, certainly.
Campbell certainly is.
Yeah.
Campbell certainly is. Linares, I would say, is about the same. So, yeah.
Yeah. I mean, we saw what happened there. Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Well, is it the weigh-ins directly after this?
No, this will be fighter meetings today with ESPN,
Weighing tomorrow, right?
different
Waiting
satellite.
tomorrow, yeah. I keep messing up my dose.
Good thing you're there, Ian. What's he got in that bottle he's drinking there? I'm drinking PG tips.
It's carbonated. It's carbonated water because I'm fancy. I like a little bit of sparkle.
Syrup.
Yeah. I think it was the famous first Canadian Prime Minister was John A. Macdonald, and in the House of Commons would sit there and they thought he was drinking water, but it was gin. So,
Hey, first of all, I'm drunk on Jesus, right? I don't drink at all because of several things. And yeah, I just listen. It's COVID time.
I drink.
No one knows. Yeah, no one. Yeah, streets drinks for both of us. But no one really knows what. I don't know what day of the week it is after time. It's just he does it for us. Respect.
That's what I found with all this COVID stuff talk. I found that the crazy is that how people are freaking out that the pubs are closing. Oh my God, the pubs are closing. What? Not worried about schools.
No.
The pubs.
Yeah, I mean, today they said that London is moving into tier 2, which means that you're not allowed to go to the pub with your friends. But if I messaged Streets and said, I'm allegedly going to be in the Nag's Head approximately at 7 p.m, maybe see you there.
We accidentally bump into
Yeah,
each
exactly.
other.
It's just like maybe you have the table next to me. It's insane, right? What's going on? I mean, what's the vibe in Vegas with that? Is it like massive social distance? Because Vegas can't function like that, right?
Vegas can, when I'm looking out here at the window and seeing the emptiness that is in front of me. Like I'm right across the street from the Tropicana Hotel, and the parking lot is empty. It's empty. MGM, the entranceway to MGM is empty. Tropicana Boulevard is just cars, no traffic at all. They're just zooming on. Look, they're doing the best they can to enforce the social distancing. Of course, in the casino, like you just can't, right? You just can't. People are they don't care. But everybody is wearing a mask. Some of the wiser ones are wearing the famous chin mask or neck mask.
Yes, we like that. I saw a guy today on the tube who had it on his wrist.
Yeah.
The mask on his wrist.
So or the nose one. That's
that's quality.
But it is being enforced. Everybody does wear them, so you hope that helps a little bit. And like I said, guys, I really try to stay away from people. If I'm walking, I'll move over. When I see someone coming, I'll stop. I'll wait for the next elevator. Well, not now, but during the weekend. And I mean, there's only so much you can do. But they're trying to promote it. It certainly doesn't help when now with the election going on, the election campaign going on, and Trump is holding rallies, and not promoting what the CDC is telling him, and not promoting what his disease experts are telling him. You're fighting a battle with your own government, makes it very difficult.
But that's kind of because no one has ever seen anyone deal with COVID like his body dealt with COVID. If we, I mean. I kind of wish that he was going to come out and say that I've given a portion of my blood to the big pharmaceutical companies because I am the cure, and then just let's just move on. Sure.
It's laughable. We're sitting here laughing about it, but on the grand
not really.
It's history's going to look back at this and say, were you guys insane in the 21st century? Like, are you crazy? Was humanity that nonsensical?
I think it'll be remembered as like the Prohibition era 20s, everyone drunk on moonshine, but we're all going to be drunk off of our phones. Like my grandkids are going to look at me and just go, "You were insane for having one of those." I think that's what it's going to be.
I hope so.
I found myself having to just like, I would never have thought that I'm addicted, if you will, but I find myself reaching for it. And the times that I do, and I don't know if this is right or wrong, I'm not sure how to solve this, but when you're sitting around and no one's saying anything to you, or they're all on their phone and you're bored, you start to look at your phone. And I think it's kind of sets off a chain reaction when one person is doing it, which then he's not talking to somebody. So he's not talking to the person next to him. So that person starts looking at his phone.
Yep.
And so on. It's like a domino effect of people not doing anything except looking at his phone. You fall into that groove, you know, and instead of doing something or talking. I remember, you know, going to restaurants, and the first thing I would do when I'd go into a diner or a restaurant is ask them for the paper. Or you know, if I was in the UK, I would pick up the pay. That was when we were in Peckham for the Otis Grant training camp when he fought Ryan Rhodes. That was my daily routine. We found this little breakfast restaurant that we loved, and John Scully and I would go there. First thing we would do is pick up the paper, you know, before going to our table. So we'd have the paper to read, and we're talking and looking at the paper, that as you do, you know, as you would have done in those days. You guys are too young maybe to remember those times.
No, I remember that.
No. I mean, I go out regularly and leave the phone here. Like how much of an emergency can we really have if I don't have my phone and something happens? The 50 people around me, for sure, one of them's got a phone, right?
Yeah. And just a note though, with the newspaper, you would always go to page 7 first and have a look at the picture on page 7, you know, to see who the girl was in the picture on page 7.
Page 3, dude. Page 3.
Maybe page 3. Yeah. Here in Canada, it was page 7.
Yeah, page 3 in the UK. Shout out.
Yeah,
there was quite a few of them girls.
And then flip it over and go to the sports section.
Sports section,
right?
exactly.
That's right.
I think Rihanna or Rhiannon in The Sun is still 29, and it's been 24 years now. And bless her. Bless her for that.
Bless her. She has aged well.
God bless.
Yeah.
So,
did you see the Sabeda Baranchek fight?
Oh,
I did. I'm glad you asked me about that, because you're not going to get an answer from me that you've gotten from anybody else or from the reaction.
That's why we love you.
Yes.
That's why we love you.
That Rob just gave you, you know. Yes, oh my God, you're the greatest fight of the decade. Can you believe it? As a purist, as a boxing trainer,
I feel like I'm about to.
Not that I had a lot of hair left, but I would be pulling my hair out if that was my fighter fighting that way. Zepeda can crack a little, I'll give him that. And he had a little more technique to him. But the fact that Baranchek, with all due respect to him, is out there swinging from the fences didn't seem to have a preconceived plan on how to deal with the southpaw, just swinging from everywhere, getting hit, goes down, gets back up, gets hit, goes down, gets hit going backwards, goes down. You know, he's turned around, gets hit, goes down. And I'm thinking,
which they didn't count.
Yeah, they didn't count that one. Sure.
And that was legit. Yeah. For me, guys, when you talk about great fights, they have to happen between great fighters. They have to happen between guys who have skill, who have good quality of punches, you know, who have a certain, because you can get a lot of, like, you know, club fighter types who happen to meet each other and they give you a war, you know, doesn't necessarily make it a great fight. There has to be greatness there. And when I looked at that and saw the flaws in Baranchek, I thought, you can't quantify this as a great fight. Entertaining? No doubt.
Yeah, there we go. Yeah,
entertaining, yes. But to say it was great fight, and you know, you want to call it fight of the year, I guess from an entertainment perspective, maybe. But I just bothers me a little bit about, you know, throwing that
from the purist perspective.
Around,
Yeah.
Saying it's a great fight. You know, Gotti and Ward. You know, Gotti was a 2-time world champion. Had great skills, had beautiful punches and competent. He'd get hit, but the quality of his punches were brilliant. You know, like hooks and Mickey Ward had that devastating left hook to the body, and you know, the quality of his punches were textbook. You know, you know, I don't want to say great, but I mean, you looked at him and you say, well, that's a fighter. You know, for sure, that's a fighter, right? Baranchek was a beast, and he was just swinging, boom, 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 boom. And I thought, you know, there has to be more to it to make it a great fight. Having two guys bounce themselves off the canvas 9 times, 8th officially, doesn't necessarily, you're not going to automatically get, wow, that was a great fight out of me. So
I respect that. I found it very entertaining.
Augustus is one of the most underrated fights, I feel. Like,
yeah.
Like,
yeah.
Oh man.
Well, that was a great, and again, world-class guys, like it was, maybe now again, it's because we've entered an era in where it's thin, the divisions are thin. Like the first thing I thought about was these two guys were fighting for, I think it was an elimination fight, was it not? It was an elimination for a title fight for the number 1 spot.
Or was it even the belt? No, it was an elimination.
It's an elimination for, I think,
140,
Ramirez, right? Yeah, 140. I think it's Ramirez's titles.
These are the same titles that Arguello and Pryor fought for.
Yeah.
Well, when you look at it like that.
Yeah. Respect. Yeah, I feel a little bit silly now.
No, but we're talking greats, so there's levels to this thing at times. And of course, throughout history, there have been divisions where, that hasn't been good. And, certain divisions that wasn't good and other divisions were good and vice versa. Boxing has run its cycles that way. So I just think that, respect to what they did and the heart that they showed. And Zepeda figured him out. Zepeda figured it out and waited, boom, landed. He got out of there. But I just, when the media suddenly, great fight, two guys like throw caution to the wind and, kick 7 kinds of crap out of each other, and bounce themselves off the canvas. As a purist, as a teacher, as a boxing guy, that doesn't make for a great fight necessarily. That doesn't make for a great fight.
Yeah, fair.
Interesting. That's why we love having you, man. These are the insights people need.
I do have some questions though. As a purist, I don't know if you can see, if you look closely, your boy Alexander is on my wall. Okay,
that's nice.
That's one of my favorite pictures of Alexander. He's in pink boxer shorts, holding a Pomeranian with a smile on his face. It's amazing, right? How epic is the trash talk between him and Chisora? Because it's the most effective trash talk I've ever seen, and they are saying absolutely nothing. It's the best. Hello, how are you? And that's it. Derek, how are you? I'm coming. I'm close, Derek.
Boxing needs more of that, boys.
It really does.
Yeah.
It really
Boxing needs that. And you know what? I was talking yesterday with one of the heads of the Nevada State Athletic Commission. He's right beneath Bob Bennett. His name is Alex Ibarra. Great guy, has been with the commission for years now. I mean, easily 20, 25 years. Knows exactly what goes on in the game, knows the players, knows how it plays out. And we talked about this stuff. And why is boxing the only sport where you suffer no consequences when you assault somebody at a weigh-in, when you push them, when you grab them by the throat with your hand? Nothing ever happens. Nothing happens.
They ask them to do it sometimes.
Yeah. They say it sells more.
It's almost provoked by the media. They treat these guys almost with disdain and disrespect. They think it's like wrestling. They don't care about you, because after you fight, try to get a free ticket to the next fight that they're broadcasting. They don't know who you are. Okay.
Yeah.
And in no other sport does a coach of a team or a player go to the post-game press conference and call another player a piece of shit, or say that the other team is garbage and they don't know what they're doing and they're full of shit and they're I'm going to kill you. No other sport does that happen in. No. And why does it happen in ours? Because it's fighting.
Well, it's appealing to the lowest common denominator. We had an ex-English glove champ on, who's now doing the bare knuckle thing, and he told us a story that he fought at a big card at the MEN under a big British promoter. On the way there, car picks him up, takes him to the venue, everything's all good. The fight he lost, got his cheekbone and nose broken, right?
Yeah,
was in a bad way.
Because
his orbital went, and they're like, "Oh, there's a taxi rank outside." His mum and dad had to take him to the hospital. Like, that's like that's bad in itself, right? It's just like it's the ups and the downs are just vast.
Well, isn't that what happened with Magomed in his fight in New York when he fought? You got Ian. Maybe you can jump on your computer and look up Magomed's opponent. He got hurt badly in the first round, ended up going 10 rounds, but never looked good. And Magomed was not Magomed. Yeah, Magomed. Yeah. And then when he went to the in the dressing room and the commission said, are you okay? And he says, oh no, I have a headache. They told him, well, take a taxi and go to the hospital. And now he's in a vegetative state now. And the New York State Athletic Commission was sued for millions and millions of dollars, as a result of that. And, things like that happen. Maybe that's why I'm just so sensitive to these things. When I see fighters do that and the things that are said, it bothers me a lot, because the end result is not playing. It's not. The end result can be very dangerous and very bad. And I think we saw that recently with Adonis Stevenson. And, that's why I hate that shit. Like, I hate that you talk, because the consequences sometimes could be really, really bad, and we don't need that in this sport. We need more. We need more Usyks and Lomas and Golovkins, and even Canelo. Canelo has a certain carries himself. This is the kind of stuff we need. I don't think we need the other stuff just to appeal to the crazies out there who like to see that, and they would never do it themselves. They're just happy to watch somebody else.
Well, since we started this, we've spoken to a few ex-fighters that have moved into management, or ex-fighters that have moved into the industry themselves, and the level of respect that they garnish from the people that they manage, the way that they carry themselves, the way they handle things is so much better than even, no disrespect to like an Arum or Don King, or these people made big chunks of the sport.
I think Russ even knows Amir Abdullah.
Yeah. Do you know Russ?
Yeah. From Badu Jack.
Amir, absolutely. Yeah.
I mean, like he is exactly. He's one of the best people I've spoken to. Like the guy just oozes. You just respect him, and you like him, and for a fact that he's not there to do anything untoward for you, and he wants the best for you.
Yes. But I don't think that happens enough.
No.
Yeah.
I don't think that happens enough in the sport, and it's sad. I think, and I think it's one of the reasons why, it's been quietly removed from the mainstream media. Boxing has been kind of, underground. The major networks don't come out to promote you. It's websites and boxing specific channels who come out and do it.
Podcasts.
ESPN is doing what they're doing. What's that?
Podcasts.
Yeah. It's and I think they're happy to have gone there. It takes them out of the limelight. They're allowed to do all kinds of crazy stuff that they want to do. They get away with belts and having 3 champions per belt, super champion and a next super champion and a regular champion,
franchise champ,
regular champion,
global champ.
Yeah, global champ is the new one. I like that one.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you're a world champion or a global champ, I mean, it's very confusing.
The guys, the sad thing about it is that from the business perspective, the managers and people behind the fighters like to keep these associations happy. So they pay off the sanction fee, say, yeah, we know it's not an important belt, but it makes them happy so they can get moved up into a title shot. The fighters, they're happy to pay for the belt. They pay for it because they want this trophy. It's funny you should mention that. One of my favorite guys to work with is Janibek. Okay. I love working with Janibek. He's a good guy. He's a real good fighter. He's going to be world champion. It's great to be around Buddy McGirt.
Yeah.
And he has 2 minor titles, like WBC. I mean, he might have the NABF. Is it NABF or Intercontinental? One of them. And he's got the WBO Global, whatever that is, a global title, right? And, they want to carry it out into the ring and stuff. And I said, guys, 10 of these aren't going to be worth one world title belt. That's the only thing. These other belts, to me, are great for fighters who had no aspiration or hope of even getting that far and got that title, you know, because that they surpassed their ability. They went above and beyond what they should have done, and they captured an NABF or an Intercontinental title or whatever, and that's great for them, you know. But when a guy like you who went to the Olympics has turned pro because you won a world title, that's just a trophy. You might as well go back to amateurs again, you know, like concentrate on the real thing and keep focused on that. And one of the guys that works with him, works in the corner, is an Axis translator. His name is Barry. You know, whenever I say stuff like that to him, he turns to Buddy and he said, Buddy, coach, you know how to get in touch with Grant Boxing? Maybe we need new gloves. You know how to get in touch with Cutman? Maybe we need So it's funny. We have a razz back and forth with each other. So yeah, it's fun.
I did like in Justin Gagey in the UFC for that exact reason. He won the interim title. He wouldn't wear the belt. He was like, and they were like, why don't you want to put it on? He goes, it's not the real belt.
I saw that. I want the real one. I saw that. I said, wow, that's so cool. And I, you know, I'm not a big MMA fan. And I thought, wow, this is
it's massive.
And you know, you guys might not know about this. I don't know how it works in football over there, but in hockey, as you go through the playoff rounds, you know, the West Conference, you know, plays, then the Eastern Conference plays. The winners meet for the Stanley Cup championship. Well, when they finish, you know, first you win your division championship, then you win your conference championship. And there's a trophy for the conference championship. They take a picture, none of them touch it. Like they're scared to touch that trophy. You know, they won't touch it. That's not what they're here for. They didn't come to win the conference trophy. They only come to win the Stanley Cup trophy. And
that's good.
So won't take a picture or touch the Stanley Cup trophy in a publicity photo shoot or whatever. They won't actually touch the Stanley Cup trophy until they win it, you know, because that's the only thing they're interested is winning the cup. They don't care about hoisting, you know, the hoisting the cup for the, you know, for the division championship. They won't do that.
It's kind of like Canelo before the Floyd fight, but it didn't quite work out.
Yeah.
I
mean, to be fair, that's why, I mean, my coach won the IBF European 147, right? He won that, and then he gave it up because they didn't fulfill their part of it. And like what you were saying to him, like to him, he's like, he fought in the Commonwealth and et cetera, et cetera. He wants a world belt. Like that's great as a trophy, but you negated on what you said, putting him in the rankings, and he's just like, well, why am I going to defend this? Pay fees. It's you know, like respect to the organization, but it's not worth it for me. You know,
and you know, there was a time when being your national champion was important. You know, winning your national title was important. The NABF was an extremely important title, and something that I don't know people might not remember is that Ali and Fraser, their second fight was for the NABF title. I don't know.
Is that right? I forgot that. Yeah, no.
Okay, that was for the NABF title. The NABF title was the title that pretty much guaranteed you a spot in the world rankings, and you were ranked in the top 10, and you would eventually get a shot at a world title if you became NABF champion. That was really important. But I just think that throughout time, with so many additions of titles, you know, Intercontinental, Fedibox, Latino, there's just all kinds of titles that have come up as a result of that. I think it's watered it down somewhat to the point where now it's even that this cancer, if you will, has even trickled its way down to the amateur ranks, that now when you try to book amateur shows, the clubs will ask you, are you giving belts or trophies to the participants?
No.
There's a belt.
Don't laugh, Rob. It's I swear to God, you can ask. I mean, this is what's happening here in America, is that you're doing this. They want to have belts to say that they want an amateur tournament or want to fight at an amateur show. They want to have a belt, and they pose with it and they put it on, and it's changed it a lot. It's changed it a lot.
See, now if we did white collar bouts, streets, these would be everyone's trophy. I'll just get one of them done.
A little bracelet.
Yeah, a little bracelet / choker, whatever, right? You do what you want.
The way that amateurs is unfolding is heartbreaking, man, because the people that deserve the opportunities and things like that, because of the politics behind it, they're the ones that are going to suffer. You know, pulling it from the Olympics and I mean, that's just going to be heartbreaking. You know?
Yeah, it is. But it's not the world that we got into, but I guess, you know, things always change, and not always for the better, unfortunately. So at least we don't see it as being for the better. Yeah. So time will tell. But you know, when you look back on amateur sport as well, and it seems like it's so politicized, that it's so badly run that no private enterprise system would run their business the way amateur sports runs its business. Okay.
Yeah.
So you have let's say you have whatever sport you want to name, you know, there's a president of the association, right? So this president, you know, has spent years in the sport. He knows everything about it. They've got it down to a science. He has experience a whole bit, but now you run into political problems. So you oust this president and you replace him by somebody who has no experience, and you're right back to square one again.
Yeah.
Start climbing the mountain, get back down again. And that's why it just seems to me that during my time here, that the evolution of what has gone on just seems to be so slow, because it seems like you're always going back and starting at ground zero and starting. I've got an idea, let's do this. And we're reinventing the wheel again and again and again, because it's so politicized that we take people out of this. And it's not to say that some of the people should not be removed, because they get put, you know, you put somebody into an elected position of power in amateur sport with no pay, but power, you create monsters. No doubt about it. No doubt about it.
It's just an addictive drug, isn't it? Power is.
It must be. Yeah, it must be. It must. They lose sight of what is supposed to be for the athletes. They lose sight of that.
Russ, we could talk to you for days straight, but Jules will kill me if you don't adhere to your hard out, which is in 2 minutes time. So I'm going to speak to her about when you're in the UK, lonely in the bubble. Then we'll do this again, because it is such a pleasure to have you.
Well,
thank you so much for coming up.
As long as it doesn't hurt your ratings and drop your 18-pound a month that you're making on this.
I mean, listen, it
Let's go to Nigeria anyway at the minute.
Yeah, we're giving it all to charity anyway, so it's fine. But yeah, Russ, thank you so much. You are an absolute legend.
You're the man, Russ. Thank you so much.
Speak to you in a few weeks.
I love talking boxing with you guys. You're knowledgeable. You're fun. You know your sport, and you love it, and it's a lot of fun. I look forward to talking to you before Usyk's fight.
Can't wait.
Yes,
thank you, boss.
So much.
Best of luck tomorrow.
Bye. Bye.
Bye. Bye.